Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully you are having a wonderful day today. I am just getting a few nails prepped and ready to go here for our demo today. I've got some fun full cover tips that we're going to be working with, and we're going to show you a really beautiful, I know it's not quite spring, but I'm getting in the spring mood because I'm tired of all the snow. So a beautiful spring ombre for today. Again, just getting my nails prepped and ready. Push back the cuticles, remove the shine. I'm just going to get a couple of coats of our protein bond on here, and then we'll go ahead and get our tips prepped. So you guys, if you are new to our channel, make sure you join, make sure you subscribe so that you can continue to get education with us and just have some fun. All right, just getting my first coat of protein bond on here. We'll get our second coat on. And you guys, I got to pull my chat up, see what you guys are all chit-chatting about, see who is joining us here today. And let me just finish up my second coat of protein bond. And then let me pull my chat up. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. If you are wanting to work along with me, I always post up in our Discord server what we're going to be working on, what products we're going to be using. So make sure that if you aren't joining us on Discord just yet, that you do join us on Discord. So that way you can get all of the, I call it inside information. But all right, you guys, so we've got our nails ready to go here. We've got them all prepped. We're going to be working with our full cover stiletto long tips today. And you guys, we do have several different lengths. We have the short, the medium, as well as the long. But when you're sizing out your tips and figuring out which one you want to work with, you have to make sure that you're going to be able to cover the full natural nail. Now, if you're working and you have, say, a longer nail bed, and you try to use one of the short tips, guys, let me show you what's going to happen here real quick, because I want to make sure that you don't just choose the length of tip that you want, you actually choose a tip that is actually going to fit your nail bed itself. So with our, you guys, this is our short stiletto. With this one, if I hold that right onto that nail there, let me come in a little closer so you can see better. If I hold that right onto the nail bed, you can see how there's going to be a little bit of a gap that it's not quite covering. That's because this nail is going to be too short through that nail bed area. So for those longer nail bodies, I actually want to make sure that I'm working with either the medium length or the longer length so that it's going to fit and it's going to cover that nail completely. So if I grab one of our long tips, I'll show you the difference. So this one, when we set that down there, this one is actually going to cover all the way through that whole entire length of natural nail. So this one is going to be a better length to start with. Now, we can actually cut these down shorter once they're applied. So if you are looking for maybe that shorter length, you would start with the longer one here and then just clip that down to get to that shorter length. Okay, so when you're choosing your tips, make sure that you are choosing by the length that's going to fit your nail bed itself first, and then you're going to choose and figure out the shape and length that you want from there. Okay, now when we are sizing out our tips, I also want to check my C curve. So if we take a look at this nail, if we take a look straight down the barrel here, that's what I mean by C curve. So the curve of the nail through here. If I take that tip that I've got here and I turn that around and I look down the barrel this way, I want to make sure that the curve of my tip that I'm putting on is going to fit onto the curve of that natural nail. Now this one, it does look like it's just a little bit more curved than my natural nail here, but that's okay. This one is just slightly flexible. Now, when I say flexible, you guys, I can give it a little bit of pressure and that's going to fit onto my natural nail. If I have to take this tip and I really have to squeeze that down and really press that down for it to fit onto this nail, that's going to have a tendency to pop back up. So let me show you something. So if I grab a smaller tip, and you guys, I'm going to over exaggerate this. I always like to over exaggerate it just so you can really see exactly what I'm talking about. So if I take a smaller size tip, a lot of times people think that it's going to work if they take that tip and they squish it down onto the nail. Now if you, let me come in nice and close so you can see here. if you take that tip and you hold that on there, it should sit flush. Let me grab that larger one. So again, it should sit flush right down onto that natural nail without having to use a lot of pressure. But if I take the smaller one and I really squish that down on there, it looks like it's going to fit on there. But what happens when I let go is it's going to spring back up. So again, if I take a look at this from down, kind of backwards down the nail, if I put pressure on that, it's going to want to pop back up into its natural shape. So when you put your tip on, if you do have to squish that down, let me show you this one here. If you do have to squish that one down, once you get that adhered, it's going to have a tendency to want to pop back up, and your nails are probably going to lift. They're probably going to separate after you've applied them. So again, you want to make sure that you are sizing out that tip so it's going to fit flush down onto that natural nail. Now we're going to be using our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. So if there's a slight gap, just ever so slight gap between that tip and the natural nail, that's going to be okay. If I turn this on the side, you can see there's just going to be a tiny little gap between the two. But when we're working with either our thin adhesive gel or our thicker gel in the pot, they're going to take up a little bit of space between that tip and the natural nail. So that's why it's going to be okay to have just a slight gap in between there. You don't want a big gap, but just a little bit to account for that gel in between, okay? Now, the other thing that we want to keep in mind is, does this tip go from sidewall to sidewall? Is it going to fit all the way from this side all the way over to this side? Now with this one, again, let me come in close. You can see that this one is going to hang off ever so slightly on those edges, but we would rather have it hanging off than have it too short on the edge, okay? Now the other thing you want to take a look at is right up around this corner here. This part up here is definitely hanging off, so that part I'm actually going to customize this tip, and I'm going to file off that edge, so that way it's going to fit right up into our cuticle area without having any overhang. So I'm just going to grab my 180 file buffer, so it's a file on one side, buffer on the other. If you guys have seen my demos before, you know that I love using this file for this technique because I can use that file side to go through, taper in those edges, but as I'm filing, I'm going to come in really close so you can see this. There's a little bit of a frayed edge, and I don't want to just leave that frayed edge, so that's where I'm going to flip my file over to the buffer side, and I'm going to use that buffer side to clean up that little bit of frayed edge. So this way I'm going to have a nice clean finish right around that edge, and then when we go to put this on, it's going to fit right up into that cuticle area. It's not going to be hanging off, and it's not going to be overlapping onto the skin, okay? All right, so I've already prepped my natural nails here. I have some tips that I've already sized out, so I'm going to set those right in through here. So we've got all of these ready to go. Now we're going to be using, like I was telling you earlier, we're going to be using our Tip and Jewel adhesive gels to apply these tips. So I have two different products here. I've got our original Tip and Jewel adhesive gel in the jar, and then I've also got our Tip and Jewel thin adhesive gel in the tube. So they're a similar product, but they're a different consistency. So the one in the jar is going to be much thicker, and this one you're going to actually have to use a spatula to scoop out and apply. The one with the tube is going to be a thinner consistency. You can see it says thin, so it's going to be a thinner consistency, so it's going to actually work really good. I like to use this one for those nails that are maybe a little bit more perfect, if you will. Whereas I like to use the thicker one for maybe those nails that have a little bit of a flatter surface. So if you have maybe flatter nail beds, you can use the thinner or the thicker one here. Or if you have a tip that doesn't quite fit right, you can use that thicker adhesive. It's going to fill in a little bit of those gaps. Also, if you have a nail that is maybe that natural nail has a little bit of ridging on there, it's going to fill in those ridges as well. So different types of nails for different products, and you can kind of pick and choose which one you like. So you guys, let me ask you this. Which one do you want to see first? Let me know in the chat. Do you want me to use the thicker one first? Because I'm going to show you both, but you tell me. Do you want to see the thicker one in the jar first, or do you want to see the thinner one in the tube first? Let me know in the chat. You guys get to vote here today. You get a say in what we're doing today. So again, I've got my nails prepped and ready to go. Now, because we're going to be using a gel, both of these are a gel, and we're working with full cover tips that are smooth and shiny, gel generally does not like to stick to a smooth and shiny surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my electric file, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to just create a little bit of texture in that well. So just filing through that well, creating some texture. So this way my gel is going to grab onto that tip really well. If we just left this nice and smooth and shiny, chances are those tips are going to pop off and they're going to kind of peel away. So we always want to make sure that we are creating a little bit of texture in each of those nails. All right, you guys, I'm seeing probably about 50-50 here for thicker versus thinner. So yesterday, I think we started with the thicker one. So maybe today I'll start with the thinner one. I'll show you guys the thinner one. But I will show you both of them. So make sure that if you are wanting one versus the other, stick around and I am going to show you both. You guys, I did catch that little edge right there. Not to worry, it'll apply just fine. All right, somebody says, never mind, I want the thick. Well, you guys, I'll get to them. I will definitely show you both, but we'll start with the thin one today. I'm just going to dust out those tips, get a little bit of that excess dust out of there. And again, I want to make sure that these nails are nice and clean. Now, on my nails here, I've actually gone through and I've prepped them. I've pushed back the cuticles. I've removed the shine. I've cleansed them with our cleanser, which is Swipe, and I've applied 2 coats of our Protein Bond. Now, Protein Bond is our bonder, and it works kind of like a double-sided tape. So it sticks down to that natural nail, but then it's going to leave that sticky surface. I actually want to do the same thing to the well of our tip, because we've created texture in the well, but now we also want to create a tacky surface that's going to really help with the adhesion of our tip and jewel adhesive gel. So I'm going to just brush in a nice even coat of that Protein Bond right through the well of each of these tips, and then we'll go ahead and apply. So again, you guys, as I work, I have kind of a system. I work in the same patterns and the same system, the same techniques every time. So even if I'm just practicing, even if I'm just working on my trainer hand, I always stay in that same routine so that I know exactly what I'm going to do next. Okay, so just a kind of a little hint there, especially if you're a beginner, work in patterns so that you know exactly what you're going to be doing next. Okay, so we're going to start with our thin adhesive gel, and this comes in a tube, so it's going to be nice and easy to apply. So with this one, all I'm going to do is squeeze out a little bit of that product right through the well. Oops, going to squeeze out a little bit more. My tube is getting a little bit empty here. So we're going to squeeze out a little bit into the well. And you guys, I did forget to show you one thing here. Hang on a second, let me grab this. So I'm going to be using our Touch Cure light. So this is, I'm going to set my tip down here real quick. So this is our Touch Cure light, and what this is, let me get you a better view. This is what I'm going to use to just set my tips into place. So this one I'm going to just turn on here. You can see that the light comes on underneath. I can use my finger, tap the end of it to turn it on and turn it off. So that way I can just set my tips into place. Now, as I'm working, I do want to keep that light about 6 inches away. So that's why I wanted to show you guys this before I actually get into the demo, because I don't want my light right down here. I want to make sure that it's about 6 inches away so that as it's curing, I'm not going to get any extra heat on that nail. Okay, if you're curing it super close like this, you're probably going to feel some heat on the nails, and you don't want that. Okay. Somebody's asking, why are you not wearing gloves? You guys, that's actually a great question. In my state where I live, gloves are not required. I always do recommend washing your hands before and after every service. So that is a personal preference here in my state. But if your state does require that you wear gloves, I highly recommend doing that. I'll always follow all of your state board rules. So definitely do that. Okay. So we're going to start, we've got that gel in our well of our tip. I'm going to turn this on the side so you guys can see. So what I'm doing, I'm not just taking that tip and just squishing that down flat onto the nail. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to start at a slight downward angle. I'm going to connect that tip to the nail. I'm going to slide it back towards the cuticle, and then I'm going to rock it down. Okay. I just wanted to show you guys that from that side view first. because it goes a little bit quicker once I actually get this to the nail. So I want to make sure that you guys see exactly what I'm doing. So again, I'm going to start with that slight downward angle, and you're going to see that adhesive connect. You can see right in this back area it's connecting. I'm going to just start to slide that back towards the cuticle now. The reason that I don't just start that right at the cuticle is because, let me show you guys what can happen. If you put uneven pressure, or if you put too much pressure, maybe you had some glue or some of that adhesive squeezing out the back, you guys, you can see that little bit of adhesive squeezing out the back. I don't want that coming in contact with my client's skin. So that's why I start a little ways away, make that contact, and then as I slide back, it's going to keep that adhesive underneath the well of the tip. And when I rock this down, it's not going to squeeze out that back edge. So that's why I start a little farther away, and then I start to just slowly rock that tip down. So it's going to keep all of that adhesive underneath the tip. And it's not going to squeeze out the back. It's not going to squeeze out the edges. Now, if it does accidentally squeeze out those edges, make sure to grab your orange wood stick or a cuticle pusher or something like that to clean that off before you cure. But I'm going to turn my light on here, and we're going to just freeze this into place. But notice how I just ever so slowly rock that tip down, just as, and I'm watching as that adhesive is connecting to the nail. It's pressing out any air bubbles or any little air pockets in there. And again, I'm going to cure this now. I'm going to just freeze this into place. So we're not going to do a full cure with the touch cure light. We're just going to set this product into place, and then we're going to move on to the next nail. Now, could you cure this whole nail into place fully with this light? You could. It's going to take you a full 60 seconds that you're going to have to sit here and make complete contact. So what I like to do is just set that into place for maybe about 20 seconds or so, and then I can move on to the next nail. Once I have all 4 nails, or actually all 5 nails on a real person, once I have all 5 of those on there and I set them into place with the touch cure light, then I will put that into the full UV LED light, okay? So let's go ahead and do our second one. Again, we're using our thin tip and jewel adhesive gel. I'm going to squeeze a little bit right out through. Sorry, you guys, my tube is getting a little low here, so I got to make sure I squeeze that all the way to the end. We're going to squeeze a little bit of that adhesive right through the well of the tip. And then again, we're going to start at that slight downward angle. Now, you guys, I want to show you here really quick. Show you how I actually hold the client's finger, because I want to be able to use my other hand here to turn on my touch cure light. So I'm going to just basically set the client's finger into my other fingers here, my 3 fingers, and then I'm going to set that tip down. And this way I can hold the client and I can hold the nail, and then I can also get that light turned on and use my other hand here. Okay, so if you're wondering how I'm doing all of these things at once, that is exactly how. So again, we're going to set that tip down, connect to that nail, slide that tip back, making sure that any adhesive stays underneath the well of the tip. And I think that was a little too close. There we go. So now I'm just going to start to rock that tip down using a good amount of pressure, but nice and even pressure. Rock that down all the way until the free edge, all the way till that gel meets up with that whole nail. We'll turn on our touch cure light here, and we're going to set that into place. And we're going to just hold this here for about 20 seconds or so, just making sure that this tip is set into place. Now you can see there is a tiny little pocket right through there. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure right back at that cuticle area, making sure that that product gets securely down there. And we're going to just hold it. Let's see, I think there was a question about, you guys, sorry, the chat moved. I think there was a question about, is this for young people's nails? You guys, this can be done on, technically it can be done on any age, but I generally don't recommend putting enhancements on anybody under, my lowest age that I would ever go is 16. But you guys, 18 is probably a better age. When you're applying tips like this, or if you're applying full sets, On a younger person, those younger nails are not quite developed and they're a lot more soft, they're a lot more flexible. Younger ages, people are a lot more active, so I personally don't recommend applying tips or any kind of enhancement on anyone under 18. So just my suggestion. All right, so we've got our 2 nails on using our thin adhesive gel. Now let me show you using our thick adhesive gel. So we're going to open this up. And I'm going to grab this is our dual-ended brush and spatula. So it's got a brush on one end, and then you take the cap off the other end. It's got a spatula on the other end. So we're still going to use our tips that we had prepped and ready to go. So with this one, I'm going to just take a scoop of that adhesive, maybe just a little bit more. Now you have to kind of be aware, let me come in closer here. You have to be aware of those little stringy ends. We don't want those little strings going all over the place. So just kind of give the spatula a little tap, release those little strings on the end. Now I'm going to take that little bead of my adhesive, I'm going to set that right down into the well of the tip. I'm going to put some pressure and I'm going to slide that all the way back towards that cuticle area. Same thing, grab a little bit more, bringing that out towards the sides. Now I want you guys to see something. Whoops. I always leave a little bit of space right along the edge, right through here, and then right through here. The reason for that is kind of the same reason that when I set this down, I set it down away from the cuticle, not right at the cuticle, because this product is going to move. It's going to spread through the well of that tip, and I want to make sure that it's not squeezing out the edges, okay? One more thing I'm going to do is I've got a little bit more of that adhesive right on the back of my spatula. I'm going to scrape off any of that extra right back into the well, and this is going to ensure that I've got the right amount of gel on my tip. So same thing, I'm going to support that finger from underneath. I'm going to set that tip down. Now you guys, with the thicker adhesive gel, look at what happens. If I just set that onto the nail, it doesn't move. The thicker gel is not leveling at all. So if I need to maybe adjust the direction that the tip is going, if it's not quite going straight, I can move that a little bit more and it's going to really stay where I put it. So that's kind of one of the nice options about that thicker adhesive is you've got a little bit more kind of flexibility as you're working. So again, if I need to just let go, take a look at that, readjust, make sure it's nice and straight, I can do that, okay? But again, I'm just going to start to rock that down, a little bit of pressure, making sure that's going to come all the way in contact with that whole nail. And then we'll get our touch cure light turned on here. We'll set that into place again for another 20 seconds or so. Now, again, you guys, I'm not fully curing this. I'm just curing it into place. So it's going to hold that tip on so that once I have all of these tips on, then I'm going to put this into the full UV LED light to cure everything completely. Okay, but again, just another 20 seconds or so. And you can rock that finger from side to side, making sure that that light does hit all of those edges so that your tip isn't going to move once you release it. Okay, all right, last one here. Again, we're going to grab that thicker adhesive gel. Using my spatula, I'm going to scoop out a good amount, tap off those little strings. We'll set that right down into the well, press that down, slide that spatula back, bring that product closer out to the edges, but not all the way to the edge. And then we're going to scrape off any last little bit from the back of my spatula. We'll come back in at about, I'm not even going to say a 45-degree angle, just a slight downward angle. Touch that down, slide that back so the adhesive doesn't squeeze out the back edge, and gently start to rock that tip down, making sure that all of that gel is connecting down to that natural nail. Once it gets all the way to the end of my natural nail, we'll turn on our touch cure light and we will cure this into place. Guys, I'm not sure what that little, well, it looks like we may have a little extra piece of glitter on our nail here today. I'm not sure what that is, but it's stuck on the nail, so we're just going to go with it. All right, again, I'm going to let this cure for about 20 seconds or so, just enough to set that into place, and then I can let go of that. And Now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take this hand and we're going to put it into the full UV LED light, and we're going to cure this for a full 60 seconds. So this way the nails are going to all cure all the way through, and that gel is going to be completely set. Now, you guys, I do have a swap out hand here that I have prepped for you guys so that you guys don't have to wait until that light turns off. So at this point, I do have these other 3 nails done here, but I want to show you what we're going to do before we apply any gel polish, because at this point our nail it's on, it's cured out, it's ready to go, but it still has that shiny surface on there. We're going to be working with some of our gel polishes today, and just like we were talking about, the tip doesn't adhere well to that shiny surface underneath. Same thing over the top. Our gel polish is not going to adhere very well to a smooth and shiny surface. So now we need to go through and just gently create a little bit of texture through that surface. Now, the other thing we're going to do is, you can see in the back, there may be just a little bit of a ledge where that tip connects to the natural nail. We're just going to go through and we're going to taper down that ledge so that there's not going to be any ledge in that back area. So we're going to have a nice smooth transition, and then I'm just going to go through and lightly create some texture, feathering my bit all the way through, making sure that I catch those edges all the way down along the sides, creating texture all the way through, because again, any shiny spots on this nail, our gel polish is not going to want to adhere to that. Okay, so just quickly going through that whole surface of the nail, and then I'm also going to grab, let's see, I'm going to grab my 150 grit file, and you guys, you can use either the 150 grit file or that 180 grit file buffer that we had before. And we're just going to go through and clean up around the edges. So if there is any of that adhesive that maybe snuck out around those edges, you can clean that up. If you need to do any reshaping or shortening, you can definitely do that at this point as well. If you like to taper those nails in just a little bit more, you can do that as well. So just cleaning up around our edges, making sure that everything is nice and straight and nice and even. Anything underneath here, we'll go ahead and clean that up. Okay, so at this point, we're just going to dust off that nail. And I've got 2 nails here that I'm going to work on to show you guys our final look. So we're going to go in and cleanse with our swipe. And I like to pump a little bit of that up onto my manicure brush here, and then just dust through that nail, making sure all of that dust is cleaned off. And that nail is going to be nice and clean and dust-free, lint-free, even underneath there, making sure everything is nice and clean. And then just like we did on our natural nails, we're going to apply a coat of our protein bond. And this is going to also give really great adhesion for our gel polish. And yeah, you guys, who's new to our channel today? Let us know in the chat. Let us know if you're new to our channel. Let us know if you have never seen Young Nails before or never worked with our product before. I like to know. I like to know who's new to our channel. And you guys, if you're new to our channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Join our community. We have lots of fun here, and we do lots of beautiful nail art. And you guys, I'm going to give you a choice today. So what in my head, I was thinking we were going to do an ombre using our pink and our blue. But then, kind of a last minute change of mind here, I grabbed the green. So do you guys want to see an ombre using the blue and pink or the blue and green? Throw into the chat either a green heart or a pink heart. Whichever one do you want to see? Do you want to see the blue and the green or the blue and the pink? Let me know, you guys. Let me know in the chat. Throw a heart in the chat for whichever one you want to see. Or maybe you want to see both. You guys want to see both? All right, maybe we'll see both. But what we're going to do, we're going to do a vertical ombre. So we're going to ombre one color on one side of the nail and another color on the other side. We're going to blend them right through the middle. So what I'm going to grab, we've got our gel polishes. I'm going to grab an extra lint-free wipe, or you can also use, if you have an art palette, you can grab an art palette, but something that you're going to be able to clean your brush on, okay? And you guys will see that in just a second here as well. Now the other thing I'm going to grab is our gel brush, and this is our Pro Gel Sculptor. Comes in 2 pieces so that you always have that little cap to keep your brush clean. So that's what we're going to be using for our nails here. All right, you guys, I'm seeing a lot of both green and pink, so I think we'll maybe do both of them for you guys. So So you get to see some fun color combinations, and you guys, some great color combinations for the spring and summer. I know it's still winter, but I'm ready for spring, so we're going spring. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Maybe we'll start with the blue and the pink. So actually, you guys, let me tell you, the colors that we'll use for the blue and the pink, we've got Freelance Snack, which is our pink, and then the blue is Me Unicorn. So we've got those two colors. So I'm just going to open both of those up quick. And then our green is Cactus Pucker. So really fun green. Somebody says they're tired of pink. Okay, well, whoever that was, you get to choose the blue and the green today. So you guys get options. You get options. All right, but let's start with the blue and the pink. So what I'm going to start with is just take a little bit of that gel polish out. I'm going to come in nice and close so you guys can see. I'm going to start by brushing about halfway down the nail. And you guys, I like to start, even if I'm doing like full coverage with my color, I start about halfway down the nail. So this way I can really make sure that edge is capped so that I'm not going to have any empty edges or bare edges. And I'm just going to brush down about halfway across the nail. And then I'm going to work back towards that cuticle, just kind of pressing a little bit of pressure with my brush back to that cuticle, right up to that cuticle, and pull forward. Just going to check my edge here, making sure that is sealed. So again, we're going to just start with half the nail. Now we're going to take that second color, take a little bit off of that brush, and same thing. I'm going to cap that half edge and then bring that in towards the center. I think I'm going to grab just a little bit more of that color, and then we're going to bring that all the way back towards the cuticle area. Put a little bit of pressure into that brush. Now, if you don't get right up into that center area, that's okay, because we're going to blend this color out. Now, I'm going to just bring those two colors together. Now, the reason that I have my little tile down here, or sometimes I'll have a lint-free wipe, is because, can you see right along the edge of that brush? I got a little bit of the pink gel polish on that brush. I want to make sure that I do clean that out before I go back into my bottle. So either on your palette or on your lint-free wipe before you go back into the bottle. Now's where I'm going to take that gel brush. And I'm going to just kind of start, not right at my cuticle. I start a little ways away so I can grab a little bit of that color on my brush. And then I'm going to bring that right back to the cuticle. So if I wasn't able to get that color right at the cuticle, that's okay. I'm going to just touch that up. Then we're just going to very lightly sweep that brush all the way through that center line, right down there a few times to kind of get that to start to blend. And then I'm going to bring that over a little bit more into the pink or a little bit more over into the blue. I think I'm going to wipe a little bit of that color off. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that blue from the side and bring that up and in. And again, you guys, just kind of a feathering motion. I'm not putting any pressure onto this, just a very light feathering motion. And that's going to start to bring those two colors together. So let's go ahead and do our second color. But you guys, actually what I want to do first, before I go to my second color, I want to make sure that I'm not going to smudge this one. So I'm going to bring back my Touch Cure light and I'm just going to freeze this into place. So let me come back out here and show you. Again, I've got that Touch Cure light. I'm just going to set that into place so that I don't smudge it when I go on to my next nail or anything like that. So just a quick freeze into place, and then we can go on to our next nail. So let's go ahead and do our second one, and let's see. So this one was going to be the blue and the green. So let's go ahead and maybe we'll start with the blue on the other side. And you guys, you can do whichever combinations you want. You can start with whichever side you want, whatever is going to be easier for you. But with this one, we'll start on the right side, brushing that all the way back. Now, if your ombre is not perfect with that first coat, don't worry, because we're going to do a second coat here. And with that second coat, that's usually where our ombre is going to blend out really, really well. Okay, so don't panic if it's not perfect. It's not the end of the world. It will be very pretty once we're done. So again, we're going to grab our green. We're going to blend that through the side all the way up. I'm going to grab a little bit more of that gel on my brush all the way back up to that cuticle area. Now again, guys, if you do get a little bit of that polish onto the skin, accidentally, guys, things happen, I understand. Let me clean out my brush here. Make sure that you do go back through. I'm going to just grab this is our Polish Perfector detail brush. I'm going to put a little bit of polish remover on that and just make sure that you do clean any of that off of the skin if you accidentally touch that. Okay, so we're going to grab our gel brush again. Same thing, I'm going to get a little bit of that color on my brush, bring that right back up to my cuticle area, blend that in, and then we're just going to blend gently through that line, bringing that together. I'm going to bring a little bit of that blue over, a little bit of the green over into the blue, just kind of feathering through. There's a little bit of fuzz right on there. Got to clean that off. I don't know where that came from. And again, just feathering that through for the first coat. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit more of that blue from the side here, and I'm going to bring that up and in. All right, so looking good so far. So at this point, this is where I am going to put this back into the light because I do want to make sure that this first layer is fully cured out. So we're going to get that into the light. We'll do our second coat, but you guys, I want to ask you, how do you want to finish these nails? And you guys got to vote again. Do you want to see a stamped on design, or do you want to see a glitter application over the top of these? So you guys let me know in the chat. Do you want to see a design, or do you want to see glitter? Because I need to know. You guys let me know. All right. Somebody says, I'm new to your channel. Thank you for joining us. You guys, I'm so excited that you are here. So if you're new to our channel, make sure that you do hit that subscribe button so that you can come back and join us again. All right, you guys. So normally I would cure that first layer for a full 60 seconds to make sure that that's nice and cured out. You guys are saying both? Okay, well, maybe we'll do both. So again, normally I would cure out that first layer for a full 60 seconds to make sure that they're cured out before you go on to your second coat, okay? So give that a really good full 60-second cure before you do your second coat. But we'll go ahead and do our second coat just like we did that first layer. Again, starting about halfway down the nail. I think this one I started with the pink on the first coat, and then now I'm doing the blue on the first on the second coat. But you guys, it doesn't really make a difference which side you start with, whatever's comfortable for you, okay? And then we'll grab a little bit of that pink and we'll brush that through all the way back towards that cuticle area, tuck right up into that cuticle, all the way through. And again, if you do get a little bit of that color on your brush, clean that out before you go back into the bottle. And again, we'll grab our, oops, you guys, let me cut them out a little bit. There we go. Grab our brush, make sure our brush is nice and clean. And then we'll grab a little bit of that color, work back up to that cuticle area, and then just float right through that center line. Blending out, getting that color to come together right in the middle. And I think we'll bring a little bit more of that blue over into the pink. So I'm going to clean out my brush here. Pick up a little bit more of that blue, blending that into the pink. And so now we got blue on one side, we got the pink on the other side, and a little bit of a purple ombre right through that center. Again, I'm going to hit this with my Touch Cure light, just enough to set that into place, just so that I don't bump that as I work on the next nail. And I think you guys are saying that you want to see both the stamp design as well as the glitter. So I think we'll go ahead and do that. But let's go ahead with our second nail here. We'll do our blue. Get that blue on our right side. And then again, bringing that all the way back towards our cuticle area. Tucking that right up into that cuticle. And then we'll grab a little bit of that green. And again, you guys, these are gel polishes, but we do have these same exact colors in our traditional air dry polish. So if you are somebody who isn't quite using gel polishes at this moment, we do have these same matching colors so that you can have lots of fun with just your air dry polishes as well. And we'll go ahead and grab our brush here, make sure that's cleaned out. I'm going to grab a little bit of that color, bringing that right back to our cuticle and blending right through. Pulling those two colors together. And you guys, you can see after this second coat how well those colors just really blend together nice and smoothly. So like I said earlier, if your first coat isn't blending perfectly, that's okay. Don't panic about it because that second coat is going to bring everything together really nicely. Okay, I think I like how that's looking. So again, we're going to go back into our light for a full 60 seconds this time. So this one we do want to make sure is cured out because we're going to do one of two things. We're going to either stamp our design over the top or you can add glitter over the top. So I think maybe we'll do our glitter first, but let me show you guys our stamps. And you guys, do you want to see more of a boho look? Little kind of some paisleys in there, some butterflies in there, or do you want to see some flowers? I was kind of thinking flowers because spring is coming up, but you guys, I just grabbed both of those. Let me know. Do you want to do a boho design or flowers? Let me know in the chat what you think. So I'm also going to grab my scraping card here, and I've got my stamping tool right here. I want to make sure that my stamping tool is nice and clean, so I'm going to use my cleaning tool here, just making sure my stamper is cleaned off. And I'm going to use our black polish. So again, you guys, this is our air dry polish now. The colors that I used for the design are our gel polishes, but now for our stamped on look, we're going to use our traditional air dry polish, okay? Boho flowers. Okay, you guys, I'm seeing lots of flowers in here, so maybe we'll do flowers first. So let's go ahead and do our flowers. Let's get this nice and ready to go. So I do want to make sure that my stamping plate is clean. So I'm going to grab my polish remover, my Onto the Next, pump a little bit of that onto my lint-free wipe, and I'm just going to clean off that whole plate, making sure that I don't have any residue from the last time I used it. All right, you guys, how about, do we want some cute little flowers like this? Or maybe some roses. How about some roses, you guys? What do you think? Roses? No, let's do the little flowers. I feel like those little flowers are going to be good for the spring here. So I'm going to leave that lint-free wipe with a little bit of my polish remover on here at the end. So this way I can, after I've scraped off my design, I can clean off my scraping card right there quick and easy. Now, when you're stamping, you do want to make sure that you've got everything ready to go so that you're not kind of fumbling around, because stamping takes, well, it doesn't take time. It's very quick, and you have to move quick, because otherwise, if you are not moving quickly, your polish can dry, and you want it to dry on the nail, but you don't want it to dry on the plate. So that's why I've got my stamping tool, my polish, my scraping card, my cleanser, little wipe at the end. I've got everything ready to go. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my polish, I'm going to really load up that plate. We're going to scrape across, wipe that. I'm going to pick up my stamp. I'm going to pick up that design, and we're going to set that right down onto the nail. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to be super cute. I am so loving this. So we've got our flowers on there. Now you guys take a look here. You can see that there is a little bit of that polish that does get up on the skin. There's a little bit of kind of those little threads of it hanging around the edges. And this is where I'm going to go back to my Polish Perfector detail brush. And we're going to grab a little bit of that polish remover. Let me come back here. I'm going to pump a little bit of that up into the cup. Grab that. And now we can actually clean that off from around the edges. So this way you're not going to leave that polish on the skin, and everything is going to be nice and perfect. You guys, this Polish Perfector detail brush is absolutely amazing. It's got a little bit of, you can kind of see it's a little bit of a wedge, so it's going to tuck right up into those cuticles really nice and easily to make sure that you're getting your polish applications perfect. So right up around that edge, and I think we're good. Now this is set, but we're going to go ahead and do our glitter on our second nail here. So when our gel polish cures, it does have a slight tacky surface. Now, it can start to dissipate the longer you leave it. So if you're going to be putting glitter on, apply it fairly quickly after it's cured. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to take my glitter, and this one is called Funkadelic. And I'm just going to take a nice fluffy makeup brush, and we're going to dip our brush into the glitter, onto the nail, into the glitter, onto the nail. And you guys, you can actually see that some of that that tacky surface has started to dissipate, so my glitter isn't really adhering very well. So if that happens, that's okay, don't panic. I'll show you what to do. But usually I like to do my glitter right when that nail comes out of the light, because that sticky surface is very, very sticky. But like I said, after a while it does dissipate. So if that's happened, all you got to do is grab your base coat, so your gel polish base coat, and we'll just apply a quick coat of that. And you guys, let me come out there you go, now you can see. So we'll just go through and apply just a nice thin layer of our base coat. And this is just going to help to re-sticky that surface, if you will. So it's just going to give us a better sticky surface to apply our glitter to. Now, could you apply the glitter to this uncured layer? Yes, but I feel like we're going to get a little bit of a more even application if we cure that first. So I'm just going to put that into the light for a quick 30 seconds, and then it's going to start to partially cure that gel, but it's going to leave a really sticky surface to grab onto our glitter. Now, you guys, you can see the glitter that I'm using. It is it's a sheer glitter, so it looks white in the jar, but all we're really going to see of this is kind of that shimmer that you're seeing, that kind of purplish shimmer. So that's what we're going to see on the nail. We're not going to see an actual white look to it, okay? So our nail is cured out for 30 seconds. We're going to grab our glitter into the jar, onto the nail. Whoops, take that little extra piece of fuzz on there, into the jar, onto the nail. And now it's going to stick into that tacky surface of our base coat. I'm going to just dust off some of that excess. And then I'm going to grab my stamping tool. So that same stamping tool that I was using before, I do want to make sure that it is clean. So I'm going to take off any of that excess polish that was on there. And I'm going to use my stamping tool to just really set that glitter down into the surface of my base coat. So just making sure it's going to be nice and smooth, okay? Now at this point, I can go back into the light for maybe just another 10 to 20 seconds or so, just to set that glitter into place, because I want to make sure that that base coat that we applied is going to cure all the way through, but it's going to grab onto that glitter. So as we top coat, we're not going to have any glitter coming off, okay? All right, you guys, so we are going to go ahead and finish up these nails. And to finish our glitter nail, I'm actually going to go back in with one more coat of our base coat. Ooh, somebody says flash and burn would be pretty. Yes, Kim Murphy, yes, the flash and burn would definitely be beautiful on this look too. But we are going to go in with a coat of our base coat, and then we're going to do a top coat on both of these nails. Now, the reason that I do the base coat is because this is going to seal in that glitter. If we were to just go to our top coat, you would probably still feel a little bit of texture of that glitter underneath. So to get that really smooth finish, we're going to seal it with the base coat. We're going to cure this for a minimum of 30 seconds, and then we're going to go ahead and do our top coat. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this into the light again for 30 seconds, and then we'll grab our top coat. Now, you guys, lately I've been using the just our regular gel polish top coat for a lot of different things, but today I'm going to go back to one of my all-time favorites. This is our ultimate finish. So you could use either one of these top coats. Either one is going to work great. They're both tack-free top coats, so you can choose whichever one you like better. The gel polish top coat in the blue cap here is a little bit thinner. The ultimate finish has a little bit of a thicker consistency. So a lot of times when I'm working with those glitters, I actually like to work with the ultimate finish because it's going to help to give a smoother finish. Even if I did put that coat of the base coat on there, I still like to have a little bit of a thicker consistency to make sure that I've sealed that glitter in completely. So you guys, if you're new to our channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And you guys, if you've been with us for a while, let's go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat. So if you don't know what our top coat chant is, it's just basically hit the subscribe button first and then type in top coat, top coat, top coat into the chat. and I will top coat our nails. We're going to cure these out, and I will show you guys the final look. So whichever top coat you're working with, you're going to cure that for a full 60 seconds. That's going to cure it all the way through. Again, you're not going to have any tacky surface to worry about. You don't have to cleanse anything. Once it's cured, it is cured completely. Okay? So I'm probably just going to set this in there for a quick 30 seconds just so you guys can see that final look and you don't have to wait. But there is one other thing that I like to do. So when I'm working with those glitters, you guys, you can see I've got some glitter on my nails as well. I did basically the same process as what I've done on our nails here today with that glitter press. Sometimes when you work with the glitters, you may end up with a little bit of a rough edge because those little pieces of glitter poke out the sides. So I like to go back to my 180 file buffer combo, and you can go around the edges just very gently, cleaning up around those edges, or just flip over to the buffer, and that's going to help to smooth out those edges. So again, you don't have any of those rough edges to worry about. So just something quick and easy to do. Always make sure that when you are working with those glitters that you do check those edges and make sure that they are nice and smooth and they're not going to catch. All right, you guys, so this one did cure out for almost 60 seconds. I'm just going to pop that out so you guys can see that final look here. Again, you can see there's a little bit of a rough edge because of that, that glitter around the edge. So we're just going to go through, smooth that out really quick, flip over to my buffer edge, make sure that that is nice and smooth around the edge. We'll dust these off. We've got our stamped on design here. We've got our glitter press. We've got some solid color nails. So you guys, lots of fun different techniques to show you today. And I hope you enjoyed our lesson. Make sure to subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed our class today. And make sure to try these designs. And if you do, tag us so that we can see exactly how you did. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our class, and we'll see you guys back next time. Thanks, everyone.